This was brought to you by Franklin County Internet Gaming Society on YouTube and Facebook.
Celestis, plural, Celesti, the accursed, mage whose soul is tainted by the abyss or pledged to an abyssal entity. A Celestis is created through a legacy. Shadow name. The moniker a mage adopts to hide his real name from mages who would use sympathetic magic against him or threaten his sleeper friends and family. Shadow realm. The spiritual or ephemeral portion of the fallen world, separated from the material realm by the gauntlet. Silver ladder. Mystical order with roots in Atlantis. They were the viziers and priests of the awakened city. Sleeper. A mortal who is not awake. The majority of human beings in the modern era. Sleepers suffer from the quiescence and disbelief and worsen the chance of a paradox if they witness vulgar or improbable magic. Sleepwalker. A sleeper who is not awake but who does not suffer from quiescence and disbelief, and who does not increase the chance of a paradox should he witness vulgar or improbable magic. Soul. The essential core of a human being, as distinct from the mind or psyche and the spirit, the subtle body. It is the soul that awakens and yearns to ascend to the supernal world. Soul stone, a physical piece of a mage's soul, voluntarily created at the cost of the mage's own magical potential, but which forms the necessary foundation of a domain. Space. The arcanum that governs conjuration, scrying, sympathy, teleportation, and wards. Spirit. The arcanum that governs exorcism, the gauntlet, the shadow realm, soul, retrieval, and spirits. Supernal realm. A realm within the supernal world. Mages know of 5 such realms because of the watchtowers placed in them. Supernal world. The higher reality that was cut off by creation of the abyss in the celestial war of Atlantis. It is the source of magic and is believed to be the true home of all souls. Stygia, the supernal realm where the ruling arcana are death and matter. Mages who walk the Morris path claim a watchtower in this realm. Tapestry, a metaphor for the whole of creation, made up of many discrete patterns. Caste, magical substance, a form of the prima materia prime. Caste is likened to the earth or solid state of that substance. It can be broken or melted down into mana. Temenos, or the Temenos, the plane of the collective soul within astral space, likened to the concept of the Jungian collective unconscious. Stereomorph, a being with the ability to shapeshift at will into an animal, i.e. a werewolf, as distinct from someone who uses magic to shapeshift. Thrall, a mage whose soul stone has come into the possession of another mage. There are ancient customs governing what rights the possessor has. usually involving only 3 favors or tasks he can ask of the Soul Stone's true owner before he must relinquish possession. Thyrsus, a mage whose path leads to the primal wild. Thyrsus epitomizes the tarot card of the moon. 9. The arcanum that governs divination, prophecy, and temporal acceleration/deceleration. Twilight, the state of existence within the material realm for most ephemeral beings that find themselves on the material side of the gauntlet, including ghosts and spirits. Beings and things within Twilight cannot be seen or touched by those without the requisite spells. Undead, a once living creature that continues to exist after death in an animate form, includes ghosts, zombies, and vampires. Vile, the body of customs used to keep the mysteries secret. Hell, the body of customs used to keep the mysteries secret from those who could taint them, including sleepers. Purge, a place where the gauntlet has no strength, so that beings can pass between the material realm and the shadow realm without need of magic. Ward, a space spell that forms a barrier against space magic, including sympathetic spells and scrying. Some wards, called bands, act as a barrier against certain classes of creatures or things. Watchtower, a mystical edifice of a supernal realm erected by the Atlantean kings or oracles to oppose the exarchs and restore magic to the fallen world after the creation of the abyss. Will, the force of intent someone can bring to bear to accomplish a task. For mages, this has the extra meaning of the magical will, the intent to alter reality through magic. Will worker, a mage, someone who works his will in reality. Wisdom, the quality of understanding a mage possesses about the proper balance of magic and the mundane. Wisdom is hard to acquire and maintain when practicing the ars mysteriorum, but it is well worth the effort, for many mages believe that only the wise can attain the final key to the mysteries. Witch hunter, a mortal who seeks out mages and attempts to destroy or control them. Spell casting rules glossary. These entries are provided as a rules reference during gameplay. If this is your first read of this book, you can skip them until after you've read Chapter 3, Magic. Aim spells. A spell that manifests as a projectile or force directed physically at its target's body instead of mystically against the target's pattern. Aim spells cannot be contested or resisted, although they can be avoided like any ranged attack using armor and or cover. Arcane experience, a special type of experience point awarded for epiphanies about this supernatural world. Arcane experience can normally be spent only to raise a character's gnosis. Aspect, a spell's seeming or semblance, how it appears to onlookers, and how acceptable it is to reality. A spell's aspect is either covert or vulgar. Casting, see spellcasting. Combined spell. A spell that combines two or more discrete spell effects into a single spell. Conjunctional spell. A spell effect that requires use of two or more arcana contested resistance. Some spells allow a target to make a reflexive contested roll to avoid the spell's effect. The dice pool is usually a single resistant attribute. Mages can also add their noses to the dice pool. Convert spell. A convert spell's effect is hidden, innocuous, or seemingly coincidental. Reality accepts the spell without complaint. There is no chance of a paradox. And sleepers likewise, except that its occurrence is not supernatural. Duration. The amount of time a spell lasts. Effect. The description of exactly how a spell alters reality. Factor. A measure of a spell's effect. The three spell factors are potency, target, and duration. Improbable. A covert spell that would seem highly unlikely or even supernatural to a sleeper witness and hence might cause a paradox. Most often, this is due to a series of magical coincidences stretched too far. Improvised spell. A spell cast using only the mage's raw supernal understanding, gnosis. The arcanum lore. An improvised spell's dice pool equals gnosis plus arcanum dots. Compare with a rote spell, which requires training. Target's attributes, usually a resistance attribute. Potency. A measure of a spell's raw power or amount of damage it inflicts, and also its resilience against attempts to dispel it. Range. See sensory range and sympathetic range. Relinquish spell control. A mage can relinquish control of an indefinite duration spell by spending one willpower. The spell no longer counts towards the total active spells he can maintain, but he can no longer control it. It is as if it were another mage's spell. Resistant damage. Damage that cannot be healed through supernatural means, such as life magic. This damage heals at the normal rate. Rote. A tried and true spell learned through training and the expenditure of experience points. A root's dice pool equals attribute plus skill plus arcanum dots. Compare with an improvised spell which requires no training. Sensory range. Anything within a mage's immediate sensory perception. Spell. What occurs when the laws of a higher reality are imposed upon the laws of common reality, creating an exception to the laws of physics. A spell manifests the wishes of its caster. Spell casting. When a mage channels a higher reality to change common reality in accordance with his wishes. See spell. Sympathetic range. A distance that depends not on physical space, but on a caster's mystical connection to a target using space too. The stronger the connection, the easier it is to affect the target. The subject of a spell, the person, place, or thing suffering or receiving the spell's effect. Vulgar spell. A vulgar spell effect is obvious and or impossible by the normal laws of reality. Vulgar spells risk a paradox. Method. How a spell is cast, either as a rote spell or an improvised spell. Resistance, automated. Some spells allow the target a degree of reflexive defense from the spell's effect.
This was brought to you by Franklin County Internet Gaming Society on YouTube and Facebook, Roger Hanson on Patreon, and Gaming with Infamous on Discord. Thanks for stopping by. Listen to our podcast on any of these platforms: Anchor, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, RadioPublic, Spotify. Support us on Patreon, and check us out on Discord. All the links can be found in the video description below. We thank you for your participation. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, share, make comments. We love feedback.